So I saw this meme, or I guess infographic, that was making the rounds. I think I saw it on Instagram. I'm sure it was based off of Twitter. And basically it was how to spot a psyop. So I thought, hey, this is a good chance to validate whether this is factual and a factual infographic, or is this misinformation that's being spouted out on social media. You might be wondering, if you are wondering, that is great. Who is this guy? Why should I even listen to him? Well, I spent over 20 years in the intelligence community. I've dealt with it, with misinformation. I've been part of both covert and overt operations. I have done many things. I've been part of Russian mis and disinformation at overt times in Poland. We knew that was coming, so I've been trained on how to deal with that. And so I kind of saw this infographic, this is how to spot a psyop. And the first thing it says is it says speed and uniformity. If every news outlet, influencer, and government rep is saying the same thing within hours, it's probably coordinated. This is true. If they are saying the same thing, if you're seeing a confluence of people saying the same thing, especially in media, then it is probably a psyop. They're probably trying to make you believe something. This is especially true in the media, and this is tough for intelligence analysts and intelligence agencies to break through the fog here. What am I trying to say is that within the intelligence community, when we're doing analytical work, we want multiple sources. We don't want circular reporting. We don't want single source information. And why we will use that. We are going to use single source information to put stuff out there, but you really don't want to be briefing your J2 or G2 um, reports that are or single sources, especially if those sources have not been vetted. So if you are seeing a bunch of influencers saying the same thing, it's probably a coordinated effort to promote something. And this is something with TikTok, this is why the United States has an issue with TikTok being controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. And if you're listening to this and you're watching, and you are a subscriber to this channel, you already know this. If you're not a subscriber, well, here we go. Subscribe now, to get more reporting like this, honest, factual reporting. What I should also say is, yeah, I haven't shaved in a while. My hair is a mess, so I have a hat on. I look like I'm in a proof of life hostage video. That's just because my life is not creating fancy videos. I just want to be honest, and um, I want to be honest with you guys. So you're going to see minimal editing. I'm going to be authentic. I think that's something that in this age of AI and the age of influencers, where everything is so curated and clean and it's got to be perfect, you're not going to see much editing in these videos. So if you don't like ums and likes and so's, and you don't like breaks to let me think about what I'm going to say, this maybe is not the channel for you. But I'd say give it a chance. That might be that you do want a more authentic voice here, and that's what I'm going to try to be. Now I've gone gone into a tangent there, and if you listen to our podcast this week, explain, you understand that that can happen. I can go into tangents, and so I am not a psyop because I'm not coordinated, and I'm not curated, and you're not going to see a bunch of fancy figures and kind of tech things on here. So I hope that's okay. Hope you guys are okay with that. But as I said, speed and uniformity, absolutely. It's most likely a psyop. And what I was getting at with TikTok was the main concern for a lot of people is that um, TikTok has your data, which means the Chinese Communist Party has your data. I'll do another video. Comment down below if you want a video on the recent reporting that that TikTok is going to be owned by a U.S. company, a U.S. and Saudi company. So if you want that, comment below, and then I'll do that video as quickly as I can. With minimal editing, I can pump these videos out as quickly as possible. So just let me know. Now, what I'm saying here is that a lot of people for TikTok, they think, well, the Chinese Communist Party will have my data. That's kind of scary. But look, the US government has my data. Meta with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, they already have all my data. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is not that they have your data. That to me is a small worry on my part. The bigger worry is that as long as ByteDance owns a part of TikTok, the Chinese Communist Party owns the golden percent, 1% of ByteDance, then the Chinese Communist Party owns the narrative. And so when you see influencers on TikTok promoting Chinese Communist Party propaganda, that's an issue, right? And so I talk a lot about the future large-scale combat operations between the U.S. and China over Taiwan. Is Taiwan a sovereign nation? Is it part of China? That is the big that's a lot of the big conversation there. And so, if a conflict were to begin, or leading up to that conflict, TikTok then becomes a weapon, and it is then be weaponized by the Chinese Communist Party. And absolutely, social media can be weaponized by the U.S. government. We saw that in the Biden administration. We saw that leading up to the elections in 2020. This is absolutely something that all governments will do, and I think it should be stopped. But yeah, that is a psyop. So sorry for the tangent there. Um, but the next thing that this says is that emotions first and facts later. Fear, outrage, guilt, or moral panic is pushed hard and fast. Absolutely, that's a psyop. We saw this during the 2020, during the height of COVID, right? The summer of the COVID shutdowns, there was a ton of emotions first and facts later. This is something that this channel tries to get away from. So when you see a bunch of headlines and you don't hear us reporting the information, it's not because we're not tracking it or we don't care about it. It's because we have that first emotion and understand that your initial reaction to it is your emotional response, and it is not a factual response. It's not a response to the facts of the matter. And so when that happens, when emotions are heightened, it is very easy in a psyop to control the narrative, to control people and make them do what you want them to do. That happened a lot during the COVID shutdowns and lockdowns. It kept a lot of countries locked down because of this. This might get demonetized because we're talking about COVID, but it's factual. So, look, if you want to demonetize me for saying factual things, then I guess you're not looking for the truth. YouTube, Meta, whoever's taking this down. But yeah, that's absolutely true. That is how not only do psyops happen, this is also how conspiracy theories thrive, right? There's a little bit of fact within a conspiracy theory so that they can say that it is true, but most of it runs on emotion. Now, the next one says solution before the problem. Yeah, absolutely. Was a new law, app, or policy waiting in things? Crisis becomes the excuse for a rollout, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste. This is something every government official knows and what they lean on to get laws passed. Um, this is how look, this is how we had the Patriot Act, right? 9/11 happened. There's a ton of things going on within the borders of the United States, but there are quite a few terrorists within the borders of the United States. We have to stop that. The U.S. government says we have to stop that, and so the Patriot Act becomes a law. This is how we can get laws passed on under the guise of national security. Well, this is a national security effort, and so we need to take some of your freedoms so that we can provide you with security. And this is a psyop that the government will run. And it's you think, oh, this is what the government is running, so that the Congress and the House, they're getting together and they're messaging this, but they're also messaging to the media, and they're messaging to journalists that they trust these things, so that it gets out there, and it's all a ploy to manipulate you, who's listening right now, to manipulate the entire population, and also to manipulate globally. We see this a lot. The intelligence community fights against this when talking about foreign adversaries, and it's one of the main things we talk about daily in briefings to our intelligence leads. The fourth thing here was follow the benefits. First, it was misspelled, but take that with how you will. But follow the benefits. Ask who gains money, power, or control if we believe this. And this is absolutely true. Follow the money, right? So if you follow the money, you'll understand first who is trying to push this narrative, but you'll also understand why. And it's always about money and power. And you say, well, what's more important to someone? Is it money or is it power? Well, I think two things can be true at the same time. As always, money is definitely something that pushes people to do something. But the more money you have, the more power you can gain, and the more power that you can gain, the more control that you have. And this is why I am staunchly against putting more and more money into a singular media conglomerate that will report news in the United States or anywhere, right? Like the UK, you've got BBC. Um, Canada is CBC, I believe, and so you have these government-run news organizations. Um, we have one in the United States, right? America One, or now I forget the name of it, but I'll keep this in. Oh well. But we've had a government media, right? Some would say NPR is that National Public Radio, but that's really funded by government grants and the public, right? PBS is by government grants and the public. So there is a little bit of money from the US government in those agencies or those news organizations. And I'm not a big fan of that. I think news should be independent and that they should be held to a higher standard, a journalistic standard. And we have definitely gone away from that in the United States. And I think other countries are, for a long time, have lacked in this freedom of information, freedom of of the media to be able to say what they believe is true and let the people decide whether they believe that or not. So, we've gone through four of these. There were five. Here's the fifth one being simple heroes and villains. Absolutely. Simple heroes and villains. The human nature is to want a hero. We want the good guy, and they need to be opposed to a villain, to the bad guy. It's very easy to make that happen. This is like in conflict, in war, we've done this all the time, right? World War II, the Krauts and how evil the Krauts were, and look, Hitler was very evil. Vietnam, right? In Korea, we had We had names, terrible names for people that were there because we needed a villain. Communism, that's a villain. They have to be evil. Nothing they do is good or is right. I think we're kind of going away from that a little bit as a society, which I'm kind of for. Right? You watch movies, look at comic books, read stories. Villains are not as heroes and villains are not as white and black as they used to be. There's a bunch of gray area, and a good villain in today's age is a villain that has a great backstory, a reason why they became a villain. I kind of like that. It helps us understand, how this person became evil, why they are evil, and why they need to be, in the case of movies and stuff, defeated, right? But look, real life is messy, um, and so if it seems too clean cut that this person's bad, we just have to, go after them and denigrate them, then it's probably a side. You're probably being manipulated. We talked about this on the podcast a lot, especially with the Russia-Ukraine, right? You picked sides. Not too many people picked Russia's side. We did not pick Russia's side. The aggressor going across a border and attacking a sovereign nation. But you had to understand where it was coming from, and that helped you understand why the war had started early with Crimea and where it was going in the future. And as we've always said before, it doesn't stop in the eastern part of Ukraine, right? It's going to keep going to all of Ukraine and then push to more of Eastern Europe. But if you just say that's bad, it's evil, and don't do anything about it, then what's the point? You need to understand where they're coming from, where Vladimir Putin is coming from, and then you can better understand it. It's the same with Israel in Gaza. Now, that was a very divisive conversation, right? It was a pretty, I would say it was 50-50, right? People were supporting Palestine, saying that it was a sovereign nation being invaded. People were supporting Israel, saying they had a right to defend their borders. But when you get into the nuance of it, then you can understand where they are really coming from. So, yeah, I saw this. I would call it a meme. Maybe it's an infographic on psyops, and I thought it was very well done. Besides, well, take away the misspelled words and that nature, but I thought it was really well done and factual. So I wanted to bring that up and kind of explain why that is and help you as a listener or someone watching understand what a psyop is and how it can manipulate you and how your emotions get involved. And so if you do want very upfront, factual information, subscribe to this channel. I promise you, we don't run on emotions here. When I'm doing these videos, I'm not going to see something, get all spun up, and then immediately uh, post a video about it. It's gonna take time, right? So it may be a few days of old news, but at least you know when you're watching it and your emotions have settled down, you're actually getting nuanced information. And so if you want that nuanced information, help us out here, like and comment. That really gets us out. It helps us get into the YouTube algorithm, whatever that means. And if you want to be alerted to the subscribe, hit that bell, do whatever you have to do. But yeah, that's all I've got for this week. Who knows the next video I'll put out, but let me know what you want to see. And so with that, you guys, as always, stay safe out there.